Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
In every deliberation, we must consider that the impact of the seventh generation, great law of the Iroquois nation. When it comes to making important decisions, indigenous people have always thought 7 generations ahead as a way to ensure our survival as people. Getting the COVID vaccine protects you and your family and future generations. Help protect the herd by getting vaccinated today. This message is brought to you by McGinsey Communications and Minnesota Department of Health.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
We are your relatives.
We are your relations.
Brothers,
sisters,
sons,
daughters.
And some of us are your grandchildren.
We are your community. Historically, we held places of honor and respect. Because of the impact of colonization, some of us are rejected, thrown out from family, friends, and community, set up as targets for sexual violence, sex trafficked, humiliated, tortured, and murdered. Everybody has the right to be safe. We are your relatives. Remember,
homophobia is not traditional.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies overnight with a low around 28, Tuesday sunny with a high near 42, and Wednesday sunny with a high around 41. Cafe Latte provides a cafe dining experience with delicious gourmet quality food. Their ever-changing menu of award-winning sandwiches, salads, and soups means you're sure to find something you'll love. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand in St. Paul. Make a reservation or place a takeout order at cafelatte.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous. Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake. Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanjahade, which means distant thunder. My colonized name is Robert Pilot, and we discuss here on Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake Native issues. And as you know, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, we voted. I thought I was going to be out of town Tuesday, and we voted. Everybody get out and vote. If you don't like somebody, don't rank them at all, I guess is my my 411, my information. But they even use 411 anymore, Wendy?
That's the information, right? You dial it, and the operator comes on and says, "How can I help you?" When it
was connected to the wall, when the wire was connected to the wall.
Oh my gosh! You know, there's still people out there who have what do you call those? Hard phones? I don't know.
Yeah, hardwired. Yeah, definitely.
Hardwired phones in the wall.
Hey, and happy Native American Heritage Month, which is every month for me. So welcome everybody else. But before we get too involved with our personal lives, why don't we get to Ogama with the news? And Ogama, She talks about the news that you don't hear on other radio stations across Turtle Island. So without any further ado, and there I am speaking French again, like Saboteur and all those other great
Mosey Lawn.
Yeah. Hey, without any further ado, let's get to Ogama with the news. Welcome, Ogama.
Hi, and bonjour, everybody. I'm Ogama Ganuikwe. A little bit about my personal life, feeling a bit about a hot mess after Halloween this weekend. I don't know about you, but if you have young children and you take them out trick-or-treating, they definitely they whoop my butt this weekend. So that's where we're at on this Monday. The first story that I want to talk about is, of course, what's happening right now in Glasgow, Scotland. The climate talks are happening. The world's governments have agreed over the next 12 days to talk about the climate. So the Glasgow climate talks begin today. President Biden is there, as well as Greta Thunberg, and our Indigenous representatives, great-grandmother Mary Lyons is there, and there is a ton of Indigenous and activist presence here at what's known as COP26. And what's happening right now is that people who are there in solidarity with Indigenous movements are talking about how it isn't only governments that are responsible for the climate crisis, it's the businesses and companies that have been allowed to wreak havoc on the world's climate for years and years now, decades, in fact. So if you're looking for more ways that you can get involved and just start pulling your money out of those kinds of things, check out stopthemoneypipeline.com. And they have a ton of good ways that you can get involved, including making phone calls, signing petitions, emailing bank executives and oil connoisseurs, and then taking part in in-person actions at bank branches, insurance offices, asset manager headquarters, etc. On Friday, hundreds of youth-led activists all over the world called out the financial institutions who are funding these companies that have such a huge role in the climate crisis and continuing to enable Indigenous rights abuse, including BlackRock, Chase, and others. So there's Citibank. Citibank is another big one. The other thing that is important to remember, too, is that, we have all these companies who are calling for net zero. Net zero proposals are not what you think they are. Net zeros are kind of meaningless if you are still using fossil fuels. Net zero should mean no more fossil fuels and no more fossil fuel funding. But what's happening is that companies are using this net zero as a form of greenwashing. Greenwashing means to kind of make things sound better than they are, right? So what it means is they still continue to fund fossil fuels, but supposedly the funding that they're giving other projects such as solar or more renewable types of energy is more money than what they're giving fossil fuels, and that somehow makes it better. So I'm not really sure how that works, but
yeah, it's the same thing like with factory farming. If a company says our chickens are free range, they only need like a handful of chickens that go outside during the day, but the millions of other chickens get to stay inside. But since they have these 5 chickens that get to go outside, they could say that they're free range. So it's kind of like the same idea.
Oh, geez.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just terrible. So in better news, if you're in Minnesota, big news from the University of Minnesota today or this past week is starting fall 2022. People have been really pushing this as the FAFSA open enrollment period starts for spring and fall 2022 right now. The University of Minnesota's Native American Promise tuition programs is expanding upon the full tuition waiver program that's available at the university's Morris campus.
Wow.
And what it means is that if you are a Native American student who's enrolled in one of Minnesota's 11 federally recognized tribal nations, there will be substantial financial support and in many cases free tuition for first year and undergraduate students and transfer students from tribal colleges. So the colleges that are taking part are the Twin Cities, Rochester, Crookston, and Duluth U of M campuses, and you can find out more enrollment information by going to umn.edu. You do have to complete a FAFSA, which is a financial aid application. And when you fill that out, you can find out that what your family income need is, and there will be 100% tuition coverage for students with a family income up to $75,000 and up to $100,000 for a family family financials. It'll be 90% tuition for Native American students. This is really exciting and really great news. However, I do want to point out that there have been our Dakota people who have been exiled from this land here in Minnesota who are not going to get to participate. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that. Somebody did point that out today.
Or our Ho-Chunk.
Or our Ho-Chunk, yes, exactly. So another interesting thing that came out Friday is the court has affirmed the existence of the Oglala Nation in Oklahoma. So in Oklahoma versus Lawhorn on Thursday, the Oklahoma Court of Appeals upheld a district court ruling that says the Oglala Nation's reservation was never established. So that means the Oglala are now the sixth affirmed reservation in Oklahoma. So congratulations to the Oglala people in Oklahoma. And in our neighbors in South Dakota, there have been dozens of bison who have been released onto tribal lands in South Dakota. And I do believe that is on the Rosebud Sioux Indian Reservation in South Dakota. 5 dozen bison were released onto nearly 28,000 acres of native grasslands. It's called the Wolakota Buffalo Range, and they're hoping to increase the herd to about 1,000 animals, and that would make it the largest Native American managed bison herd in North America, which is awesome. And then a quick note on the mayoral race in Minneapolis. 7 candidates from Minneapolis said they'd consider giving land back to Indigenous people, including the current incumbent Jacob Fry. Basically, what's happening is Cedar Field Park, which is right next to the excuse me, Robert, why is it? It's right next to Little Earth.
Right.
Yes, and it's primarily used by people of Little Earth, and people and activists have been asking the mayoral candidates if they would consider giving Cedar Field Park to Little Earth, and 7 of those candidates said yes. So given the current number of candidates, I feel like that's pretty good odds.
Yeah.
And then another quick local news, the Native American Community Clinic, who the CEO of, Dr. Antony Stately, will be on the next segment, did do their winter gear giveaway and open enrollment kickoff today from 11 to 2. So we're going to have to make sure to ask him how those went.
Yeah, remind me because I got a good memory, but it's short. Hey, I'll be here all weekend. Hey, happy Native American Heritage Month there, Ogama. We'll be talking more about that later, along with Wendy's a little sacred animal section, sacred Native American section. Hey, we'll be right back with Dr. Stately. You're listening to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us. Hey, Ogama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
If you're hurting in your relationship or have been affected by sexual violence, you're not alone. Strong Hearts Native Helpline can help you through these difficult and uncertain times. Strong Hearts Helpline is a free 24/7 confidential domestic dating and sexual violence helpline for Native Americans. Help is available by calling 1-844-762-8483 or by clicking on the Chat Now icon on strongheartshelpline.org. This message is sponsored by the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center.
Hey man, are you going to the vaccination party after school?
True that. What are you guys talking about? What party?
Oh hey, there's gonna be a party soon for anyone who's vaccinated. A lot of people are gonna be there. Bro, you should definitely go get vaccinated. It's like a shield against COVID.
I don't know. I'm not so sure.
Do us a favor and get vaccinated, bruh. We even go with you.
Come on, it's gonna be all good. Once you get vaccinated, we can go to the party together.
This message is brought to you by McGee Communications and Minnesota Department of Health.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm awake.
We are Elusive Nation.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Wow, we have Dr. Stately on, and as always, and we really have good medicine when we have Dr. Stately on. But I just want to mention too the PSAs from McGeezy are awesome. The young people bringing it together here. Yeah, so awesome. Shout out to McGeezy and all the great work they've done for many, many, many years. Just a great organization, and we're just pleased to have them aboard as one of our sponsors.
Yeah,
so
it's great.
Yeah,
Spreading the word.
Yeah, life is good. So we have Dr. Stately, Wendy, and I have to tell Dr. Stately, hopefully he's listening before we give him the big hello. But you made a unbelievable meal today before the show, and I'm getting a little sleepy here, so Wendy might have to jump in and take over the show because I need a nap after that great meal. But I think you two should have a cook-off because Dr. Stately cooks a lot of food there, I see. And oh yeah, look at it. So hey, again, we have Native American Community Clinic, NADKI CEO Dr. Stately on, Wendy, and that's welcome, Dr. Stately.
Bonjour, everyone. I seen Ogama shaking her head because you did it again.
Did I do it?
We'll arrange an appropriate time to spank you, or a more appropriate sort of intervention later. But the Native American Community Clinic, NAC, is my organization, and yeah, we held a coat drive, a winter coat drive, and we kicked off the event also with it was a kickoff event for also open enrollment for MNsure, which is November 1st is when MNsure opens up the portal for people to apply for insurance. And every single year we work really hard to get people who are uninsured enrolled in insurance. All kinds of reasons why that's really important. And that is primarily because people with health insurance will utilize primary care and other healthcare services. And what could be more important in the middle of a pandemic than to have health insurance and to be able to seek care when you are ill? So if you don't have health insurance, or you're unsure if you have health insurance and you need any help with that, NAC is prepared and ready to help you and assist you with that. You can call the clinic main number anytime and ask to speak with a patient advocate who will help you get enrolled in insurance.
Wow, that's great news too. And my apologies as always, but I'm blaming it on the good food. And Ogama, you did at one time know somebody named Emma that worked for MNsure, didn't you, years ago?
Many years ago, yeah.
We don't talk about that on the show.
We don't have to talk about that on the show today, but I did want to mention to everybody too, I got my COVID booster today. I got my third shot of the Moderna.
Awesome. Good for you.
This afternoon. So I don't know if anybody is remembering this, but I am currently expecting. I'm about 5 months pregnant, and I thought it was the best thing for me and my baby to have the extra COVID booster since my second shot was already way back in March, more than 6 months ago. So it was super quick and relatively painless, and it was covered under my insurance. And if you're on the fence about a booster and you have access to it, I think you should do it. It's so far so good. My arm isn't even as sore as after the second one. So
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah.
How are you feeling? You got it this afternoon?
Yeah, I just got it at about 12. Well, it was scheduled at 12:30. It took until about 1 for me to get it because there was a little bit of a line for other COVID boosters and flu shots in front of me. But, so far so good. It was in my right arm. It's a little tender, but I feel just fine, all things.
Well, I'm glad you said you were waiting in line, because I thought, wow, that's a slow shot. How do they do that half hour where they just go really slow with that? Really slow. Yeah.
Oh,
hey, I'll be here all week.
Yeah, so far so good. I'll update people if I get any other symptoms tomorrow, but I mean, I feel just fine.
You shouldn't get symptoms. You should have a immune response.
Right.
Yes, symptoms of an immune response or side
Yeah.
effects? I don't even know. What are those officially called, Dr. Staley?
Indicators of an immune response. Indicators. They're called indicators.
Yeah,
Indicators.
I'm staying out of this because I'm practicing Native American community clinic over and over again here at the house.
Oh, good. Like it should be a mantra. Go ahead and like make it into a meditation.
Yeah.
Knack.
I was wondering, like, so I have a question for you, Ogama. Did you get vaccinated before you became pregnant? You got pregnant after you got vaccinated, your first vaccine?
No, my first two vaccines, I was not pregnant yet. And then for this booster, my doctor had recommended that I do get the booster because I'm more than 6 months away from my second shot, which was back on March 18th. And he said that the outcomes for women who are pregnant who contract COVID, even with a vaccination, are a little bit worse than those who are, of course, unvaccinated or not pregnant. So he recommended just for safety that I get a booster, and they had the booster, the Moderna available, which was the first round of the shots that I got. So that's what I went with. Although I've heard you can mix and match and there's no problem.
Hey, also, you are 6 months pregnant, right?
Just about.
Yeah.
I'm 20 some weeks right now.
Yes, awesome.
Yeah, because you said that a little backwards. I just wanted to point that out. You're not going to be pregnant for 12 months.
You're silly. Yeah, well, I think it was interesting because I think, lots of people have been really ambivalent about getting vaccinated because they, especially within your age range, right? Like the 20 something to like the 40 something. I know that you're not 40 something, but you're in that age range. And lots of people who are considered to be in that age range who are, of childbearing years, they have a lot of concerns. I've heard this said within the community and in lots of settings where people are concerned about childbirth and the effect and the impact on childbirth after the vaccine. So you're a real live person who got pregnant after the vaccine. So we know it doesn't necessarily impact fertility. And we'll have to wait to see after the baby's born if you have 2 heads, 3 heads, or what.
She certainly feels like she's got something going on in there this week. She's been kicking a lot. But the other interesting thing, and actually part of the reason that I really wanted to get the booster, is because I plan to nurse or to breastfeed after I have her, like I did for my first child. And there's a lot of immunity that can happen there that can protect her before she's old enough to wear a mask or to get vaccinated, possibly, because now we're looking at maybe 5 and up. So it'll be a while before she can get vaccinated. So any sort of safety I can offer my infant from my own self, from a stick in the arm, is good enough.
Now, is your current child over 5? I think
My
it goes.
current child is 8. Yes. Yep. So as soon as she's eligible for vaccination, we'll be taking her in as well.
I don't know if Dr. Stately just froze, it looks like.
I think you may have.
And if you look on Native Roots Radio, it was kind of oh, there he is. He's back. Oh, yeah. You're back, Dr. Stately.
Yeah. Oh, I was just curious if your older child, you plan to have your older child vaccinated.
I do. Yeah. My older child is 8. And she is actually interested in being vaccinated too. She's had all of her shots for everything thus far. She knows that she's protected against really bad diseases because of that. So she has no issues about it either. I know some kids I really don't like shots, and she still doesn't like to get poked in the arm, but she knows how important it is. And she's excited to get vaccinated for COVID to get over this. So that's exciting too.
Nice. Well, that is good news, and I wish you and your family the best, actually. So thank you for doing what you can to protect yourself, your family, and also those around you. So.
Right. Yeah. Really good ad too. And again, having Dr. Stately on Wendy and talking about real issues like this has really helped the community. And we can't say enough peeny giggies to Dr. Stately, Wendy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, with all the mandates, there's lots and lots of more people getting vaccinated because of the mandates, but there's also a lot of people fighting against the mandates. So it's kind of seems to me just an icky situation.
Yeah, it was interesting to me that the Supreme Court ruled against religious exemption lawsuit last week. Some folks who, I think it was, oh gosh, can't remember the state. Anyway, it was interesting that the state had, it was, I think, the state of either Vermont or Maine. I can't remember, one of those Eastern Seaboard states. But they had a long-standing law in the state that said, that did not allow for religious exemption for any vaccinations, and it had been in place for quite some time. So I think there was precedent already there in the state with respect to public health and other sort of like public serving institutions, perhaps. And it didn't allow for the Supreme Court sort of like sided on the side of the state and reinforce the state's ability to do mandate vaccines.
That is really interesting. Mm-hmm. Hey, Dr. Stately, we got to take a quick break. Do you mind sticking with us for another section?
Absolutely.
And during this commercial break, I'll be working on Native American Community Clinic. Dr. Stately, CEO of that community clinic. And we'll be right back. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
If you're an Indigenous person who has thought about going to college or completing your degree, then North Dakota State has a great event for you coming up. Thursday, November 18th is Indigenous Student Visit Day at North Dakota State University. The event is for Indigenous community members who have an interest in attending North Dakota State. Throughout the day, you'll get a tour of the campus, have a chance to connect with current students, professors, and staff members. You'll also learn about support services, financial aid, the application process, have optional breakout sessions, and more. Since the health and safety of the community is important at North Dakota State, face coverings are required in all classroom settings and strongly recommended in all indoor spaces when social distancing cannot be maintained. So take the opportunity to further explore your education options with Indigenous Student Visit Day at North Dakota State University on Thursday, November 18th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Register now online at ndsu.edu/visit and then click on the Weekend Visits tab to find Indigenous Visit Day. Again, search NDSU Indigenous Visit Day at ndsu.edu/visit.
I was on a road trip this summer and it happened. A truck threw a rock, chipped my windshield, and the next thing I know, I had a crack. I wasn't just going to take my vehicle to any service center. I trust Rudy Luther Toyota to take care of my car. Whether routine service, new tires, large repairs, or even a cracked windshield, Rudy Luther Toyota has the professional, courteous, trained team you need to get your vehicle back on the road fast. Scheduling online is a breeze, and their service center is wonderful with Wi-Fi and coffee. No matter your vehicle, if you need service, head to Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Now, more than ever, we are being faced daily with the topic of human mortality. And for many people, estate planning has been top of mind. Getting your estate planning done now can be easy and cost-effective. Schroman Law offers virtual options for initial consultations so that new clients can safely initiate the process. With many facing uncertain financial situations, Schroman Law also offers affordable fees for legal documents. Learn more at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
Hello, Minneapolis. It's Randy Rhodes on your radio in the heart of the Midwest every weeknight from 10 to midnight on AM 950.
Hey, Cudahy to all my friends and relatives in four directions. This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy. But with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Hi, my name is Frank Brown, owner of Minuteman Press Uptown.
We're not just another print shop. We give back to the community and stand up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Press Uptown, we understand Black Lives Matter and know love is love. We're the only minority-owned and proud union shop in the state. We're community involved and have over 100 years of industry experience. We believe our employees are vital to our success. That's why we pay a living wage with benefits.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I chose Minuteman Press because they match the values of our business. Their design team took our vision and idea and turned them into a beautiful, professional printed marketing piece on time as promised. They can help your business, nonprofit, or political campaign with printing, direct mail, signs, or other promotional needs that will help grow your organization. Call the printing company AM 950 Trust, Minuteman Press Uptown at 612-870-0777 or find them online at mpuptown.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly cloudy skies overnight with a low around 28, Tuesday sunny with a high near 42, and Wednesday sunny with a high around 41. Cafe Latte provides a cafe dining experience with delicious gourmet quality food. Their ever-changing menu of award-winning sandwiches, salads, and soups means you're sure to find something you'll love. Cafe Latte is located off Victoria and Grand in St. Paul. Make a reservation or place a takeout order at cafelatte.com.
Bijou. I am Oshawashko Gijig. I'm from Red Lake Nation, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by J. Selby's, a plant-based eatery located at 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul.
I'm hungry.
It was. Yummy, yum.
I'm not hungry anymore, but hey, we're with Dr. Stately, CEO at Native American Community Clinic, Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking in between the break, and I know New York had a big issue last week with people getting upset about their mandate.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Stately, early on, your clinic had a mandate. How did that go? And did some people leave? Or, I mean, what happened? It's hard. It's a hard time.
It is a hard time. And, I think I can't remember. I think I spoke about this. I know I actually, you're not going to like this. I did talk about the vaccine mandate that NAC had on another Native News radio show. But I thought I talked about it here, but we went through this very difficult process in leadership. I talked with, it was not an easy decision for me, myself personally, in my role as the executive officer and as the president of NAC to sort of land on that spot. And I contemplated it for a really long time. I pay attention to the data. I pay attention to trends. I pay attention to what's going on in our state, and then also around all across the country. I'm on phone calls at the federal level, the state level, and also the city level in terms of how things are going with the pandemic. And, it pretty much consumes all of my sort of like, not all, but a significant portion of my work as the leader of the organization. And, I talked with elders, and I talked with, people who I know and trust very well in the community and public health and all kinds of other spaces and places. And I think I mentioned in this conversation that I was at Sundance, and I was standing in the arbor, and I was standing in the circle, and I was looking, and at this Sundance, which was in Vermilion, South Dakota, a family Sundance of some people that I consider family. And I saw just so many children running around the Sundance grounds, and it made me feel hopeful, and it made me think about like what an amazing, beautiful ceremony it was, seeing all those children there present, knowing that like a big part of our job as adults and as elders is to sort of pass on our cultural life ways, and that's an important part of who we are as Indigenous people, is to pass those things on. And how do we do that if we're not protecting the children? How do we do that if we're not protecting our people? And there's so much more that we can possibly lose. And so I had this epiphany and this experience when I was at the Sundance, where I was just like, I pretty much made my decision then and there. That was right before August, and I made the decision on August third or fourth, I think, to sort of issue the mandate. And yeah, it was hard. People did leave. Some people did not like it. They left, and I can appreciate and understand and support people's individual independent decisions to not get the vaccine. But I have a bigger responsibility as the leader of a health or care organization that serves the Native community to do everything I can within my sort of ability and also within my decision making to sort of leverage my resources to protect that community. And it was a hard one, but I did it.
Right. And I think we did scoop that other native radio show. You did talk about this, but I'm wondering also how is it right now? Is there any residual from that decision you made back in August?
I think it's been we've lost a number of people over the last several weeks and months. It's been a trying, difficult year for everybody, but it's been really, really difficult in healthcare, quite frankly. And I think when I think about that specific question, the impact that it has on our clinic is that I have an amazing team of individuals that work for our organization. They put 150% of themselves into the work that they do. They show up. They show up sometimes in situations which are very less than savory. Not everybody is always in a great space and a great place when they come to the clinic for services. They're not always the kindest people. Sometimes they are very upset and they do and say really horrible things, right? And my staff have been the brunt of some of those things sometimes. But they show up every single day and they do their work and they do their job because they have a deep love and commitment to the community. And they're just an amazing group of people. But they get tired like everybody else. And this pandemic has been really hard on healthcare workers, right? They get discouraged. They're getting exhausted. They feel, many people that I know, not just in my own clinic, but in healthcare generally, are just tired. They want to take a break. They're tired of seeing very young people who should be thriving and vibrant and healthy, succumb to the pandemic and to the virus, and in some cases die much too early. And that's sad to me. And but I have an amazing team who are just really wonderful people. Like I'm completely honored and privileged to have my role.
Yeah. Wendy.
Yeah, that's great. And I think healthcare systems, like when you made that decision, like just the very next day and weeks right after that, healthcare system after healthcare system after healthcare system made the same decision you did because it's the right decision. So, in the clinic that I used to work in also, a couple of people, they said left. They said, I'm not going to be getting vaccinated, so they left. But the people who stayed are, working hard and, got vaccinated and keeping the people who come into the clinic safe. A lot of patients are immunocompromised, or right down the hall from the transplant clinic. So there's people around us all the time who are seriously immunocompromised. And if those people get sick, even though they're vaccinated and they had the second shot and sometimes even boosted, they're not even having an immune response. So the vaccine isn't really doing that much for them. So we need to keep them safe as well as keeping the young people safe. So, yeah. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All we can do is be selfless. And I think, one of the things that our teachings and just being a good person teaching too, is that we need to think of other people and get back to that.
Right.
And so it's been it's sad because it's been so politicized, Wendy.
Yeah, it has been politicized. And, there's some nurses that I know who are, angry at people who are not getting vaccinated, and they show up in the ER, and they show up, in a bed where somebody else who might have a heart attack or something else, they're using that bed, and they could have been vaccinated and they could have prevented getting sick and using that hospital bed. And healthcare workers are getting kind of angry and sick of people like that. They honestly are. So.
Yeah, it's a difficult time, and I just give Dr. Stately a lot of kudos for his leadership, because it's hard, because there's people that rationalize many things and come back with things that make sense to them, but really not so
Right.
much in the medical field, I
Right.
guess.
Well,
All right. Well, Dr. Stately, any comments on this?
Well, I think, I heard an elder once tell us that, that when we arrive here on the planet, we arrive here on Earth, we are perfect spiritual beings, right? Like in Dakota, they call children Wakanija, which is little spirits, right? Like, so we arrive here, we're little spiritual beings, and we are perfect in every way, right? That's the way a Creator made us. And our biggest challenge on our path, our trajectory on this earth while we're here and we're walking our life, and with every passing season and getting older and growing into adolescence and adulthood and elderhood, our primary job in that path is to sort of master the job of being a human being, right? And being a common human being and being a good relative to everybody. And that's our primary purpose on here, on this planet. And, none of us get it perfectly. We all mess up, all of us. Every human being messes up, right? Some mess up worse than others, but the point is that we are all fallible. We're all capable of mistake, but we are also very capable of corrective behavior. And we're capable of forgiveness, and we're capable of doing the right thing. At any moment in time, we can make a choice to do the right thing, and think of others before ourselves, which is what a good relative does. A good relative, thinks of others as much as they think of themselves, if not more. And we all have the opportunity to do that. So, I think people are fallible. They're going to make mistakes and they're going to disappoint. That's just who they are. Right.
That's right. Oh, come on, 30 seconds.
When I was pregnant with my daughter, it was right around the time where their whole vaccines cause autism thing was happening, about almost 10 years ago now. And I did a lot of research onto whether or not I was going to vaccinate my daughter at all. And it was my father, who's since now passed, but one of my ancestors now, who told me, if you have the choice of watching your child getting sick and dying from something you could have prevented with a shot, would you prefer that to the very low chance that they would have any sort of reaction from the shot or any sort of long-term side effect from the shot that they were getting for that disease? Because it's kind of a crapshoot as a parent that you do the best for your child in the best way that you know how. But if you have the power to say, I don't want to watch my child get sick and die from something I can prevent, then you should prevent that. And that was really what ultimately went, okay, we're getting all the vaccines, every single one of them.
Wow, there it is, Algama. Dr. Stately, thank you so much for visiting with us as you do, and all the great words. 9 times out of 10, we use this as the best of because of the great information that you bring out to the community. Thank you so much.
Miigwech. Igwagman.
Oh, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and up next, Wendy with some trivia, and we'll talk a little Native American Heritage Month information, and we'll be right back. Again, Peeny Gigi, Dr. Stately.
Stay with us. Hey, Olgama, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
The American bison. These powerful animals surround the weak members of their herd when threatened. I got vaccinated against COVID-19.
To protect those who can't do it themselves.
Me too.
And me.
Like the bison, we can protect those who can't help themselves. Get vaccinated today to stop the spread. Protect your herd. Brought to you by the McGizzy Communications and Minnesota Department of Health.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to J. Selby's on 169 Victoria Street in St. Paul? They have a delicious plant-based menu that's compassionate and environmentally sustainable.
I'm getting their spot-on vegan Big Mac, the dirty secret.
You can pick up and they deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me one. Let's go order at J. Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakun Jahare.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Oh my God. Dr. Stately, Peeny Gigi for staying on for the howl. That was awesome. Hey, do you have any last things to say before you go? We really always appreciate your good words, and it was pretty heavy tonight, and I appreciate your honesty.
Mm-hmm. And I hope what you said again, every time you're on, we always hear of somebody who you changed their mind and they got vaccinated, and we just love that.
Well, I appreciate the compliment. That's really kind and generous. You're both really wonderful people. And I think, hopefully what I do is I give people food for thought and just sort of like, I think a lot of people are sometimes, quite honestly, a lot of people, the majority of people are probably on the fence, right? They're sort of kind of like straddling the fence and they're not really sure. And, that place and space of being sort of like, of being in sort of ambivalence and not knowing what next to do, sort of intrepidation or whatever, can be a really hard place. And what I would encourage people to do is like talk to.
Oh no, Dr. Stately just got
He's going to say talk to medical people, I think.
Or talk to people you trust. I don't know.
Say it again. Talk to people that you love and you trust, and that that also, and I think be courageous and talk to somebody who has a way of thinking or a different opinion than your own, and just kind of hear them out and just discuss things, right? And I think one of the things I would say is that, hopefully what I can do is provide data and information and my own experience, and then that can help people feel a little bit more confident about their choice, right? And sometimes that's just all people need. They just need somebody to listen to them and to help them work things out. So,
Yeah, definitely. That's great advice. And
yeah,
great, solid
it is
advice.
great advice. And hopefully other people will get vaccinated.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I know that people are going to be really anxious about having their children vaccinated. So I think, that's a really great thing to do is talk to people. Talk to your pediatrician. Talk to people that work with kids. Talk to your dad or your mom or your parents or your grandparents, and solicit advice, and get some recommendations.
Yeah, really good advice. And
yeah, I mean, the latest statistic said that only 22% of parents are going to get their kids vaccinated, and that's not.
It was at 34% just weeks ago too. Yeah,
that's really, really low.
But we'll keep plugging away. And again, Dr. Stately, Peeny Gigi for being on and staying on just a little bit and howling with us.
Bewitched.
That was Dr. Stately, Wendy, of Native American Community Clinic, and we just love having him on every Monday.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
I have a very short Native American sacred animal section for us today. And I just want to talk about this time of year and the fall and what's happening with some animals. So we want to keep an eye. First, I just want to say this. There's squirrels, so many scurrying around, going crazy. Let's try not to run them over.
Right.
And just kind of keep an eye out for them, and maybe, I mean, I don't want you to swerve and hit a tree to avoid a squirrel, but
be careful and pay attention.
Yeah, that's all. Just keep an eye out because they are scurrying around. The other thing I want to say, I just read an article about people during this time of year, they, like little chipmunks. We have a couple of chipmunks, and they live in the front stoop of our house. So we have a cement steps, and they have like burrowed a little like den that they live in.
Yeah.
But a lot of people find them to be pests, and they want to get rid of them. So some people think that it's okay and humane to relocate them. So they'll put like little live traps out, and they'll actually catch the chipmunks and relocate them. But this time of year could be really detrimental to the chipmunks if you relocate them, because they already have their den and their winter stash of food already set up. So if you relocate them, they first then have to find a place to live,
right.
Which they might find competition, especially during this time of year where there's lots of animals, looking for places to live, and they don't have their winter stash, so they'll die. They just they die a slow death of starvation. So it's just like, leave the chipmunks there. If they're bothering you, they're going to go to sleep soon, and then they'll wake up in the spring, and that's when you could relocate them if you wish to do that. So
or do what we do and feed them. We name them
we
too.
feed them and name them.
They got little
everything.
thumbs too. They steal that little peanut from me. Remember that?
I know.
They used to feed them by hand.
Yeah, and they took it right out of your hand. I just want to say also about the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center in Minnesota, in Roseville.
Yeah.
They're posting a lot of things right now, for this time of year and what we can do to help our wildlife. And they're a really great organization where we've brought a couple of squirrels, and I brought a bat there once too. To the
Where was I when you did that?
Remember, Matt went. Our friend Matt Johnson went somewhere, and he found a bat that was dying, and he picked the bat up, but he had to work or go somewhere, and he couldn't bring it to the rehabilitation center. So he posted on Facebook if anybody could do it. So I went to his house and picked up the bat and brought the bat to the rehabilitation center. The sad story is that they did evaluate the bat. The bat did die, but it died of starvation. So bats eat insects, mosquitoes and different types of insects. So, they're just saying, people are using too many pesticides and killing all the insects. And if there's no insects, then the bats die. So we have to keep some of these animals around. So, but the article that the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center just put out was to help foxes. So I don't know. I'm sure we have foxes in this area, right? We had a couple of coyotes, I know, but they have mange. So early fall is a heartbreaking time at the center. So many juvenile kits, that's what they call baby foxes or kits, now on their own, they fail to hunt successfully, and they develop mange in their compromised situation. And mange could be really bad for the animals. It, takes, it's a parasite that lives under the skin, and it takes away their fur. And then, these poor little kits, they haven't learned how to hunt properly, so they're dying. So they want people, if they see a fox with mange, to also live trap them. Just put like a little bowl of food in the trap and trap them, and bring them to the Wildlife Rehabilitation Center in Minnesota here. It's in Roseville. But all through any state really has wildlife rehabilitation centers. You could just Google Wildlife Rehabilitation Center in my area, and I'm sure something will come up. But yeah, these foxes, they don't really, they're babies, so they don't know really how to hunt. And then they develop mange, and then they get really skinny, and they starve, and then they die. So we want to, if you feel willing, don't shoot away, try to trap it and bring it to the center.
Wow, that's a good cause there, Wendy.
Yeah, watch out for the squirrels.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it just feels better and be a better person if you're not running over squirrels and flattening them out,
I
right?
know, exactly. I don't want to say it because I don't want it to happen, but I've never, ran over a squirrel, so I don't want to do that. And I am careful when I drive because I don't want to hit any animals. But, yeah, I had a very good friend in high school who, on her driving test or driver's ed test, killed a cat, ran over a cat.
Oh, wow.
I
Isn't
know.
that on Negative Thursday we talk about stuff like that? Or no, Positive Friday?
But anyway, she did fail her road test, but it wasn't because she killed the cat. She was just a really bad driver in general. So, but anyway.
Yeah, well, PNE, want to give a shout out to Dr. Stately for stopping in of Native American
Absolutely.
Community Clinic. It's always heartfelt and beautiful. Ogama, Pinigigi for all you do and the great news, and Wendy for bringing us all this information that I would never know about. So I really appreciate it. Remember to go out there and vote tomorrow. And also, it's Native American Heritage Month, and help celebrate by supporting us and just giving us a shout out and letting us be. Hey, I'd like to end with these thoughts. If you're listening to the show, you are part of the resistance. From Chief Plentycoops, the ground in which we stand on is sacred ground. It is the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
Free Leonard Peltier. Stop line 3. Please get vaccinated.
I'm John Peterson of Ferndale Market, and I'm the 3rd generation to grow turkeys on our family farm in Cannon Falls. We've grown them the same way since 1939, free range and without antibiotics. We're proud of the way our turkey tastes naturally, so we never add fillers or basting solutions, just 100% pure turkey.